Hey everyone, welcome back to yet another live stream where we'll be learning another awesome, cool tool today. Thanks for joining on a Friday night, and I guess for some of you it's still early morning. So, a quick housekeeping, shall we? If you can hear me, drop a hi in the comments and introduce yourselves. I'd be happy to know all of you, and it'll be an awesome to get to know you. I know a lot of you are from my WhatsApp AI community. If not, please scan the QR code in the screen that you see right now. And yep, I think you will be added to the WhatsApp AI community, and you can kind of you know be a part of the community. All right, a lot of people are slowly chiming in, so I think we are right on time. So let's get started, shall we? Awesome. So if you're watching this from your registered URL, I think you will be able to see every part of the screen perfectly well, but you can also join from YouTube or Instagram. I'm currently live in those platforms as well, but that's totally fine. Oh, yeah, we have Carl here. Hey, Carl, how are you doing? It's so nice to meet you. Carl is one of my irreplaceable OS learners, and he never misses any of my sessions. I'm so grateful for you, Carl. And we have Nicolay joining from UK again. I don't know what the time is over at Las Vegas and in the UK, but that's amazing. Thank you so much for making your time to attend this session today. All right. So, to give you a very quick introduction of what we're going to be looking at today, is we are going to be answering this simple question: what if your AI never left your computer? Okay. This might seem like a very, for some of you, it might seem so absurd, or for some of you, it might not even, you might not even understand the question. So I've kept the whole session very simple, assuming that everybody who has joined this session today is an absolute beginner. Okay, because a lot of requests came in my DM, and the request was to kind of you know uh, start with a session that's like very covers all the basics and everything. So that's why I'm doing this session today. So I'm assuming every participant who's joined me today is an absolute beginner. So yes, to answer this question, we'll have to like look at what exactly happens when you use your regular AI tools. I assume that every participant who's here on the stage today uses any one of the AI tools like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Grok, or even your Meta AI. If you're watching this on Instagram, you have Meta AI easily accessible from Instagram as well as on your WhatsApp and stuff. So at one point in time, you have access to AI and you are sharing your information onto these AI platforms. So all of your ChatGPT, your Claude, Gemini, or any AI tool that you use, it is running on the cloud. Okay, which means that these tools, they do not run on your machine. All of the prompts that you give, every image of you yourselves that you upload onto it, every personal information that you give to your ChatGPT. Some of you use ChatGPT as your therapists. But mention in the chat if you do so. So if you kind of mention about your toxic manager, or maybe your toxic partner or whatever. So all of those things goes into ChatGPT, goes into your Gemini and all the other AI tools, and it gets processed via a third-party server. Okay, and I guess like most of you would not have given much thought into it, and it's like seriously, is it if unless you share like utterly personal stuff into it, it's no big deal because everybody across the globe does that right now. But if you are someone who's like very conscious, and let's say you are someone who is very conscious of what you share online, like your Instagram or Facebook, and you're very conscious about what which private information of yours is like out in the public, I think you're gonna love this session, because this session focuses on running those AI on your own machine. Okay, none of your data, nothing leaves the your machine, and you can even access these large language models from your own laptop without any internet. Okay, so it's going to be interesting if you are into such things. All right. So as we were saying, there are two ways of using AI. One which you normally use via ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, and the other way is local. That's what we were talking about right now. So accessing your large language models on your laptop without the use of internet, so that your data does not go outside your machine, can be done via a tool called Ollama. I'm pretty sure that wherever you saw the information about this session, you would have seen the term Ollama. I think that's what brought you into this session. Or if you didn't know what Ollama was, I assume that you'd have Googled it and then known a little bit about it. But anyways, I'll quickly explain what Ollama is. That let me quickly move to the session. So, as you know, any large language model that you use today, like the OpenAI's large language model, the ChatGPT that you use runs on a GPT 5.5 now, if I'm not wrong. And then Gemini the Gemini that you use, the Google's model, the large language model's name is Gemini. All right, and similarly, there is XAI's model, Grok, and if you use DeepSeek, that's again a large language model, and the list goes on. Okay, so when you use them on the cloud, all of them, all of the hosting, all of the large language model querying happens on the third party cloud service. So you don't really have to worry about it. But if you think about hosting a large language model on your laptop, okay, it's basically like installing an AI on your laptop. And how would you talk to this AI? For instance, let me quickly show you something. I'm sharing my screen here. Right. If you, I'll quickly show you what large language model is and what Ollama is. And before all that, this is how you install Ollama on your machine. All right. So you just type in ollama.com or simply Ollama. It takes you to Ollama's site, and it gives you a list of all the models over here. So if you click on models, everything that you see over here is a large language model. And the most important thing is all these large language models are open source, which means you don't need to have to kind of pay a hefty subscription, a monthly subscription that you pay for ChatGPT Pro or Claude Pro or any of those pros that you currently pay, starting from $20 and more. You need not do that when you're trying to access some model via Ollama, especially these open source models. Now, a question might arise to some of you that how um, okay, I believe that I'm not sharing my screen yet. Let me add my screen onto the stage. Okay, so for some of you, I think a question might arise. All right, so how different is this open source model compared to your regular models that you use, Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT, and everything? Now, the answer is some of these models are better in, they have their own strengths, while some of them, like your paid version of the models have their own strengths. For right now, on several benchmarks, Claude is the top tier model. But if you again, there is a trade-off when you try to use a local model, that is the open source model via Ollama, versus when you use something on the cloud. So if you value privacy and if you value the cost of using all of these models, local language model is something that you should go. And there are several ways of choosing the models. We will get to it in a very short while. But this is how you download Ollama. Okay, so go on to ollama.com and you would find the download option. So choose which which OS you have your laptop in, and then click on it, and it would automatically download. And the installation is as simple as how you install your Spotify or any other desktop app that you download. It just follow the instruction and it would get installed. So once it's installed, it would look somewhat like this. So if you're on your Mac, you would find an option like a Ollama image on your on the top, and in your Windows you will find this in your tray icon. So if I open Ollama from here, I can do that. Or just go to your apps and then double click on it. You will find a window like this. All right. So this is your first instance of opening your Ollama. All right. So this looks kind of similar to ChatGPT, wouldn't you say? If you agree to this, please put this in the chat. I'd love to know what you think about Ollama's UI that you currently see on the screen. While you do that, let me tell you how it's like similar to ChatGPT, right? So here, if you look at how ChatGPT looks like, you have a bunch of different models that you can pick from, right? Let me open ChatGPT as well so that. Oops, I just got dropped off. Yes, the video streaming dropped because unfortunately my screen crashed because I run a lot of different things on my machine. I'm resharing everything, so here you go. All right. So what you see here is like I showed you how you can download your Ollama, and then how your Ollama terminal, uh, the app looks like, and how exactly uh, how it is like similar to your ChatGPT is what we're gonna see next. So if you open ChatGPT, go to chatgpt.com, you find the same kind of a format, right? Like you have your prompt typing box over here, and then you have the option to kind of choose what models you want to pick from. But the limitation in ChatGPT is that you can only pick the models GPT. You cannot, you don't have the option of these many models that Ollama has. All right, and you will not be able to pick any open source model again inside ChatGPT. But compared to that, in Ollama, you have access to all of the different I mean, the open source models that we just saw on the other screen. So yeah, that's one of the biggest advantages. And let me pick a slower model, for example, Gemma 3 12B. I'll explain what Gemma 3 is and what this 12B around means. If yeah, I know it's like too much and it could be overwhelming, but let me quickly demonstrate like how the Ollama response. So similar to your ChatGPT, let's say, uh, hey, explain transformers to me like I'm a 10-year-old. So if I'm typing this prompt onto this, it would think similar to ChatGPT, and also based on what model you choose, your speed also varies. So as you can see, it already kind of started explaining transformers, the concept of transformers, as it would explain to a 10-year-old. So it functions just like how your ChatGPT functions, and also based on what model you choose, it or the intelligence or the the type of response it gives, all of those things varies as well. So you have since you have a large number of options to kind of explore, you can always move back and forth and choose the model that you want to kind of run for your specific use case. All right. So now, again, if you have any questions during this whole session, you can feel free to drop it in the chat. I'll closely monitor the chat and I'll respond it then and there. Okay. Now, as we were speaking about the different kinds of models, you see there is like a Quen, and there is a Gemma, and there is something called Lava, Nematron, and there are numbers associated with it, right? Like 4, 3.6, and then there is a 30 billion, the 30B or 12B. So let me explain quickly what those numbers mean. All right. So for that, let me go back to my Ollama website. So here you see a bunch of different models, right? So let's take a look at Gemma, for instance. So Gemma is an open source model that has been launched by Google. Okay, so we all know that Google's model is Gemini. So we use Gemini on a day-to-day basis, and all of our Chrome, and if you use Google Workspace, Gemini is like closely integrated in all of these things. Now, Gemma is Google's open source model, which means you can use this model without paying any subscription or without, without using it on Google's cloud servers, but instead you can host it on your local machines. All right. So the 432 and then simply Gemma, this means that when it was released, like what is the version of these large language models that's out there. So the latest large language model released by Google that's open source is Gemma 4. Okay, so that's what the numbers next to all of these large language models mean. Now, you also have other numbers, if this is too small. So you have other numbers like 270M, which means 270 million, and then 1 billion, 4 billion, right? So you can find this across all of the different models. So what does this million billion means? Is basically this Gemma 3 is available in these versions. Like it is available as a 270 million parameter model or 1 billion parameter model and 4 billion parameter model and so on. So what does this parameter mean? For somebody who is not from who does not have a CS background, a billion parameter could mean like nothing to also mean like overwhelming for somebody. So let me quickly explain to you a structure of a large language model. Okay, so if you like simply Google LLM architecture, you can find a lot of different architectures. We are not going to be going very technical, and then I'm not going to be explaining the whole architecture of your large language model. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to show you a very simple example, simple architecture. Okay, don't worry about the complex formulas and everything that you see over here. But this is how you understand what a parameter is. Okay, so the whole structure of a large language model, it has an input layer. So what this input layer does is basically when you enter a prompt into your ChatGPT, the input layer receives that prompt. All right. So it's as simple as that. We're not going to deep dive into the whole functioning of the back end of your large language model. We're just going to know on a very high level of how they work so that you understand what a billion parameter or a million parameter means. All right. So the input layer is responsible for receiving whatever you shared with your large language model. This could be your prompt. This could be any image that you share. This could be a transcript, again, in the form of a text that you share. Any input that you give to your large language model goes via the input layer, and the input layer processes it. Okay. Now, there are a couple of hidden layers in your large language model. So these hidden layers are basically responsible for understanding what you've given as an input. Okay, so to put it very simply, that's what your hidden layer does. Okay, it understands. Think of it like, maybe you have a friend who's like a very studious person in class, and that this friend will help you in understanding and learning complex concepts and gives you easy examples to understand stuff, right? So the hidden layer is responsible for that, and the hidden layer is your friend you had in college or school who is like responsible for simplifying complex stuff to you. All right. Now, once all of these hidden layer it synthesizes and simplifies stuff and understands what is required. Let's say in the input layer, I'm asking the model to the same example that I gave, explain transformer, the concept of transformer, as if it would explain to a 10-year-old. So this is my requirement. So it goes via the input layer. The hidden layer processes it, understands it, and the output layer generates the output. So whatever response that you saw over here in the Ollama terminal, like explain transformers, I'm like I'm a 10-year-old. So this output was generated by this specific output layer. All right. So basically, these three layers are your the formation or the foundation of your large language model. Now, what you see here is a simple structure. Okay. So in a very complex model, like your GPT or the Gemma that we just saw, uh, these layers will be in several million and billions of time it will be repeated. Okay, so in the same image, if you see GPT-3, which was released in 2020, if you're aware, the 2022 version of ChatGPT had GPT 3.5. Okay, so the previous version was released in 2020, and that was a 175 billion parameter model. Okay, and 2023, the GPT-4 was 1.4 trillion parameter model, which means this structure was repeated 1.4 trillion times. Okay, so that's why any output that you get out of the large language model is like so intelligent and so contextual, and it appears as if a human has written it. So this is how the large language model structure looks like, and this is how your whole the so I mean, this is why the meaning, this is the meaning of like the billion, trillion, and million that you see on your different models. When you go to Ollama, or even if you're aware of something called Hugging Face, that's something somewhere you can find a lot of your models. Okay, so while I show you what Hugging Face is, I'll also show you the place where you can kind of find out where you can get the most performing model out there. Okay, so this is your Hugging Face. You just like type in Hugging Face, and then the first result is your Hugging Face website if you have not already used it. So here again, if you click on models, you will get a list of so many different models. Okay, so here you can find the model weights, which means the actual model that we saw in the Ollama. You will be able to find it over here. Let's take a very quick look into any one of these models. So if you take a look at Quen is yet another series of model like Gemma. Gemma is released by Google, and Quen is by another company that's based in China. All right. So this Quen model, when I say model weights are listed here in the Hugging Face. So when you go to files, this is how your different models will look like. So it will be in the format of a tensor, and even if you download this on your machine to kind of run it, it would not make sense unless you have a little bit of Python coding to call all of these models, and write a simple code to call all of these. So because the large language models are in this format, if you double click it, it will not open and it will do nothing. So in order to have a medium in between, all right, so that's why we have Ollama. Ollama is just one tool. We also have something called LM Studio. We have something called Open Router. So all of these are similar to Ollama, which acts as a medium. Let me quickly show you the visualization so that it's easier for you to understand. Sharing my screen once again. Okay. So this is how the structure looks like. So basically, you or whoever is typing the prompt will type a question, or maybe summarize something, or asking the model to rewrite something, or generate something on a completely new. So this information would go to Ollama, which runs your AI model, any of your large language model that you just kind of chose from your repository of models, and it runs on your laptop. No internet is involved, and then this gives you the answer, which comes back instantly or takes a little bit of a time depending on how your machine is, like your configuration of your machine. Is it like 8 GB RAM or 16 GB RAM, or how much storage you have left? And basically the speed of your machine, the performance of your machine plays a huge role when you're running large language models locally. All right, but if you're just trying to experiment with something, you can always go for lower sized models. I'll show you exactly how you can find them, but that's just the whole concept of how you can run via Ollama, and how Ollama is like the mediator or like a medium for you to access your large language model. All right, so if you have any questions, again, please feel free to put it in the chat. I'm open to answering all of them. And now I would like to show you one more thing. Quickly reshare my screen. All right. Okay, so we will. I mentioned that since Ollama has a huge list of models. Like you have the Gemma series of model, you have the Quen series of model, and then you also have something called Kimi series of model. So there are so many different models over here, right? So how do you identify? How do you know which model to kind of choose from? So that's again a $1 million question. Before you even like pull these model and run it, this is the very key question for you. Running on your mind as to what model to choose, right? So for that, there are several leaderboards out there. Okay, so one simple example is I know this is archived, but uh, Hugging Face always maintains a leaderboard of which model performs best. All right, so this archived the Open LLM, which is like open source large language model leaderboard, currently shows that around this specific model is on the top, and then the second one is called something called Calme 3.1 or something like that. Okay, but there are so many different leaderboards out there. So you can simply type leaderboard and then choose something like Open Router again has the best rankings in place. So you can choose which model is like at the top. So right now, according to Open Router's rankings, DeepSeek V4 Flash is one of the the number one model out there. All right, and the compared to Claude Opus 4.7, it's at the sixth position. Okay, DeepSeek is at first position. So again, these rankings change every day, and as and when there is new models that's released, the rankings go down. It kind of like shuffles. Let's say if there is Fable 6, which was, and sorry, Fable 5, which was released very for a very brief time, and then if you had seen the leaderboard at that point in time, you would have seen Fable 5 to be top, in the number one position. So this ranking constantly changes. So the best way for you to kind of keep a track of which large language model is new and which is a state of the art is basically to monitor your LinkedIn or follow people who post about this regularly, such as myself. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, I constantly keep tabs on such information, and there are other AI content creators, thought leaders on LinkedIn who post about all of these things. All right, so that's one of the best way for you to keep track of everything, and the second best way is for you to kind of go through Reddit. And the most efficient way, instead of relying on all of these different content that's out there, created by somebody else, is basically, create your own daily digest. Right. So I have something clear that's like running every day. It runs every day at 7 a.m. and gets me all the new information about AI that's happening across the globe. So you can configure if getting the different models is the priority for you. You can configure it in such a way that it searches across the internet and gets you the best model. Or if you just rely on this specific website, Open Router's website, you can again configure it in such a way that this Open Router site is queried and gets you the top three models for that specific day. So anything can be done, and anything can be, you need not even write code to configure all of them. So just how you use your Claude or your Claude code, you just give it a natural language prompt, and it kind of creates and builds stuff for you. Similarly, you can do it with your open source models as well. Okay, now that is possible. So right now, what we have, what we did see is basically using Ollama as a desktop application. All right, but that's not the only way you can use Ollama. There is another method, which is the advisable method if you're trying to build something with the local large language models. Let me show you that in a minute. But before that, I think we have a couple of questions. Major challenges can be hardware requirements. Yes, LLMs require significant computing resources. Absolutely, that's one of the huge bottlenecks out there. But I have a MacBook Pro, and I currently I run around like four different models at a time. those are, let me quickly show you what models they are. But I think if you have a high performance machine, it's possible. Even with a low performance machine, like even with 8 GB RAM, you can run smaller models. It will not be as efficient as your larger models, but again, if you're just experimenting, that's one way to go. One more question, I guess. Large storage requirements, models consume considerable disk space. Yeah, that's again a valid point. Again, if using large language models is your like the primary objective, like using it locally, that it is what like kind of relies on if you rely mostly on your local large language models, I think you might even consider investing in a Mac Studio if you want to keep it completely offline, or if you're okay with your own sandbox of a cloud environment, you can invest in some kind of a VPS like AWS or Azure or Google. That's again cloud, you would need internet to access, but again, it's your own sandbox. All right. Yes. So basically, that so far we've seen the usage of Ollama via the desktop app, but there is also another option, which is the advisable option that we just spoke about, is using it via a terminal. Okay, so if you're on your Mac, you just open terminal, and if you're on your Windows, you open your the command prompt or PowerShell. So that's one way to go. After you've installed your Ollama on your machine, and it's all like perfectly installed, and you are able to kind of launch your desktop application, when you type this command, like Ollama, and then simply just Ollama, and then if you press enter, it should show you this specific list of options. So you would have an option to kind of chat with the model. You would have an option to launch it with Claude Code. So what this option does is basically, if you've used Claude Code before, you use Anthropic's models, right? So you hit your session limits, the usage limits runs out, and then you either wait or pay for extra limits out there. But when you launch Ollama via this option, what it does is basically you have your Claude Code interface, but then what you do is basically use any open source large language models with your Claude interface. Again, there is a trade-off here because your Claude Opus 4.7, I guess, is the state of the art right now. Compared to that, if you use anything else open source, you will have considerably lower time. Your Claude is very fast, right? Your Claude models are very fast, but Ollama is like a little bit slow, and that again depends on your machine's performance. What else do you run on your machine, right? Apart from all of these large language models. So similarly, you can launch Ollama via, if you have Codex, the OpenAI's Codex app. Instead of GPT models, you can launch it via Codex app. If you have a Hermes agent, which is again open source, you can choose from a bunch of different models under Hermes agent. This is again a very different and huge topic and very interesting as well. So let me know if you would love another session where I demonstrate Hermes agents for you. I'll set that up as well. And then you can, if you heard of OpenClaw, it was like very trending in the month of February, March, and then people still use it. Google kind of banned Google accounts if they subscribe to OpenClaw via their Gmail IDs, but then it is still there. So you can kind of open Ollama via any of these things. Okay. So today we'll just like look at how you can chat with Ollama in your terminal. This is again similar to what you did with your desktop application. All right. So if I do enter on the first option, it shows me a list of models that I can pick from, similar to what you saw here on the desktop app. So here you had a bunch of different models that you can choose from. And similarly, if I choose any model from here, I'll be able to chat with it. So I'm going to be using Gemma 312B, which is one of the smaller models that can run on my Mac. So when I do that, Yeah, so it is giving me a prompt, as you can see here, similar to how you can give your prompt in ChatGPT or the desktop version of Ollama. I can simply prompt or type it or even do a voice prompt. So hey, explain transformers like you would for a 10-year-old. So I'm giving the same prompt that I gave in the other desktop app as well. So here it goes ahead and then starts explaining what transformer means as if it is explaining to a 10-year-old, right? So this is how you kind of use Ollama from your terminal. This again is a chat interface. You are not going to be using it to build applications just yet. So this step only confirms that you have Ollama installed on your machine. All right. So now let me quickly. Oops. Okay. So while this is running, let me quickly open a new shell. I don't know, for some reason it's not closing. So I'm opening a new window. Quickly, I'll just minimize it. So here, again, there is another command. As I mentioned already in the description and on my LinkedIn post and everywhere, you only need to know like 3 commands to get started with Ollama. Okay, and again, since this is a very beginner level of program, beginner level of a webinar, I'm not gonna deep dive into how you can call Ollama as an API and such and such. I'll do another session where you get to know that stuff as well. But today, I'm going to be showing you the 3 commands that is like that makes you run Ollama anywhere. So one thing is just simply typing Ollama, and you get different options of using your Ollama. The next thing is like doing Ollama list. So when you type in Ollama list, it will show you the different the large language models that you currently have, that you currently have downloaded on your machine. So right now I have these large language models. So something called Lava 7B, Gemma 12, Gemma 312B, and then 2 Quen models. And this is an embedding model. So all of these models are something that I have downloaded. Now, right now, if you have downloaded Ollama for the first time, and when you type the command Ollama list on your machine, you might not kind of find these models because it's fresh. You have not installed any model. Okay. So how do you install a model? That is your second command. Okay. Now, now that we know what model that we want, I'm just going to go ahead and then type the model name. But if you do not know what model to choose from, you go on to your Ollama site and then you look at different models out there. You can also filter them based on, would you want an embedding model? If you want a vision model, which means it can create it's a multi-model model, which is like you can create your images and other things along with your text generation. And again, here Kimi 2.7 is your vision type of model. So you just have to decide what kind of model you would like to kind of use. All right. And if you want to connect different tools to your model and also have vision embedded, so you just filter it like you would filter any other stuff. So right now, let's quickly choose the shortest model. So if I take Minimax M3, I'm just gonna look at the model card. So when you click on the model, it takes you to the model card and shows you what exactly the model is. Okay. So Minimax M3, it's your coding and agentic frontier. It has 1 million context window and it has multimodality. All right. So it can generate images, it can understand images, it can be connected to different tools, and it can think before answering. You also have an option of a cloud version. Okay. Oh, it's only available as cloud. So this means it will go on to Ollama's cloud servers and then respond, which we do not want, right? So we are going to move to some other model. All right. So this also is like flagged as cloud. And then this is cloud again. So Quen 3.6, we do not have a cloud flag. So we go ahead, check the model card. We see different billion parameters that's available. So right now, you also check the size and the how much storage would be needed for you to kind of download this model and use it. So you can choose the lowest storage model, or the highest storage model, depending on what kind of configuration your laptop currently has. So since this is the lowest model out there, let me quickly copy this. So Qwen 3.6 27 billion parameter is something that we're going to be installing. So to install that model on your machine right now, all you have to do is basically run this command: Ollama pull and the model name. All right. So we're pulling Ollama 3.6 27B. Okay. So when you type in this specific command and click enter, what happens is this model is being pulled from this specific repository, from the Ollama repository, and it's getting installed on your local machine. All right. So if you have the 17 GB storage in your machine, this would get installed in like based on how speed is your internet and stuff like that. It would get installed very quickly or very slowly because it's a 17 GB model. All right. So now since this will take a little bit of time to get installed, and since this is a live session, let's just assume that Qwen 3.6 27B is installed in my machine. All right. So now I'm quickly gonna escape from here. Okay, so I've just like quit that session. So assume that I was trying to download the Gemma 3 12B model. So once the Gemma 3 12B model has been downloaded the same way by typing the command Ollama pull Gemma 3 12B, how do I run that model? It's basically Ollama run and type the model name. So in this case, it's Gemma 3 12B. All right. So when I do Ollama run Gematry 12B, what happens is, since Gematry 12 billion parameter model is already installed on my machine, the model kind of opens up. Okay, this again looks like your chat interface that you saw earlier, right? So here again, if you type in, hey, what do you think about the AI in 2026? So when I do that, it would immediately start generating. So here, if you notice one key point, it started with, okay, let's speculate on AI in 2026. Okay. So it means the model does not know that we are in 2026 yet, because that's one more bottleneck when it comes to using your local large language models. Since these models, if you take a look at when Gemma 3 12 billion was released, let's go back to our Ollama and search for Gemma 3. Okay, so if you look at this, the model was released I don't know, several months ago. I think it was, yeah, updated 6 months ago, which means probably this model was released towards the end of 2025. So the answer that it gives, it predicts something. It thinks about how AI would be in 2026. So the knowledge is like completely cut off compared to your cloud models like ChatGPT or Claude, which is like regularly up to date. It can even like browse the internet and get fetch the information for you. So that's one other trade-off that you would give when you're choosing local large language models. But again, that can be fixed. So remember when I told you that you have option of connecting tools, selecting models which has the tools functionality. So this means that you can connect your large language model with a web search tool, maybe integrate it with an API calling some kind of a browser, maybe Brave search or even like your Google search API, so that your large language model will have the ability to use this tool, get the information from the internet and give it to you. Okay, so this also can be set up. Again, as I mentioned, that is not the beginner level of session that I had in plans for me today. So to just to like recap of what we saw in the whole session is basically we saw like what exactly is Ollama, all right, and how do you look at on where do you find the different models in Ollama? So basically, go to Ollama and then click on the models tab, and it will kind of like give you the different models. So that's one way to use it. And once you download the Ollama, you can use it via a desktop app, like how you would use ChatGPT. And the important thing that I forgot to mention is basically once after you've downloaded Ollama and downloaded any of the models that we've seen here, if you turn off your Wi-Fi, all right, you disconnect your laptop from the internet, you still can use Ollama. Right, you can still you can access large language models. So I recently did this. I have multiple large language models that I have installed, as you did see from the Ollama list that I did, right? So I was recently on a flight and I was like literally bored on the flight. I was alone, traveling alone. So what I did was like I just opened my laptop and then I had access to my Gemma 312B. And I had a lot of content planning to do because I also post regularly on YouTube. So I simply used Gemma 312B to help me with scripting those videos that I wanted to kind of do. So on that flight, which I could have spent sleeping, otherwise I would have just slept or like just peeked at the window and killed my time. But this is something that I did. So you can be you can be on a flight, or you can be in the middle of an ocean, or you can be in a bunker when the whole world kind of shuts down all the large language models, the AI tools out there, and it's very bound to happen because let's face it, Fable 5 was released by Anthropic Claude, and just within 3 days, the US government decided that it needs to be banned from to anybody who is a non-US citizen. So Anthropic, without any choice, went ahead and then pulled the model from market, and then it cut the access for everybody else. Anthropic's own scientist, Andre Karpathy, didn't have access to Fable 5 because he is not a citizen of the US. So that's the world we live in. Now, even though there are a lot of trade-offs, as we just discussed, when it comes to using local large language models, like it's slow, it needs a lot of memory, it needs a lot of compute power, your local compute power. But these are some of the advantages that you have while using large language models: privacy, constant access to your AI even if the internet is shut down, and also the subscription cost, like the $23 or like $200 that you pay every month. Even though you don't get such an advanced model, you get access to an intelligent model out there. And open source models are getting really good these days. This example of this leaderboard that we just saw, where DeepSeek is an open source model, which is ranking at the top compared to even Claude Opus 4.7. All right, so the open source models are improving day by day, and it's just a matter of time that we get a Fable 5 equivalent of an open source model. Maybe it's already out there. Maybe it was released while you were listening to this webinar. So I believe personally that the future is local large language models, because the different organizations, they pushed AI so far, too far into their organizations, and now they're like looking at the way to kind of control the tokens. The more number of tokens are getting burned each day, and some companies even spend millions of dollars per month on tokens, like paying for your Claude tokens or OpenAI tokens or whatever tools that you use. So I personally believe that the future could be for the organizations to adopt to a local large language model. So you learning how to access them, you learning how to kind of install them and so on would put you a step forward and give you an edge in your organization. All right. So that's why I do all of these sessions. That's why I teach everything in such a basic manner so that anybody without a CS degree can understand. So if you like the session today, and if you're looking for something that you can learn in person instead of doing everything virtually, I have a little bit of an announcement. Okay, it's an impromptu announcement, you can call it. So I have partnered with somebody called Jungli. the nomad village. All right. So this is in India. It's in part of India called next to Goa. If you're aware of Goa, it's basically in the state of Karnataka. Okay. The place is called Dandeli, and just as you see, we're going to be vibing in the middle of the jungle. All right. So this is where we're going to be living for the next 3 months. And I've partnered with two other educators. One is from the UK and one is from India. They're all experts in AI. So the three of us are going to be holding hands and kind of vibing in the jungle. And we are launching a program called Vibe Code with a View. All right, the website would be up, and we're in the process of designing it. Um, so yes, it's going to be Harry Potter themed. You can consider the whole jungle, the where you're going to be staying, as your Hogwarts. Okay. It's going to be in different name, copyright issues and everything, but look at how amazing it is. Like, no, you're going to be in the middle of the jungle and vibe coding. Again, you have the option to choose a weekend program or a 5-day program, or you can choose to stay all the 3 months if you have that option. But anyways, you will have different streams to choose from. We'll be teaching AI agents. We'll be teaching how you can automate your different tasks. We'll be teaching how you can generate videos and images using different models out there. So it's going to be exciting, and it's going to start in July, mid of July. So yes, if you want to know more about it, keep following me, and then join my WhatsApp AI community if you are not part of it, because that's where I constantly put all of the information, like firsthand, all the raw stuff. I dump it into my WhatsApp AI community, and keep following me on LinkedIn to get to know and stay on top of the updates as well. All right. So I hope you learned something from this session, like what's Ollama, how to install it, how to get your access to the large language models on your machine. And I really hope that it was useful for you. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. I'm monitoring it. So we have a couple of comments from Devajay. Um, no built-in knowledge of current events. Yes, you're right there, Vijay. We did address that as well. So for that, the option is, since the local large language models may not have access to your current events, you can connect it to a web search tool, and it would get information from the web search tool. So that's one option that we can do. To access current information, you will need to integrate. You've answered your own question. Awesome. Thanks, Devajay. Is Ollama suitable for recruitment and staffing? Yes, absolutely. It's similar to if you use your existing tools. If you use Claude or any other AI tool out there, it's just a simple swap that you do. Essentially, your Claude and other AI cloud tools comes with latest updates. There is a whole organization like taking care of such updates. But when it comes to open source, it's more of like how you build it. So, how I would advise you to kind of look at local large language models is basically have one subscription. Maybe it can be Claude Core, or it can be OpenAI Codex, or the free version of your Google Anti Gravity. Anything that will allow you to prompt in English and build stuff for you. Okay, so if you have access to any one of these tools, you just set whatever you want with Ollama and the local large language model by prompting in these tools. And once it is set up, stop paying for the subscription, or just ignore that tool. So your Ollama setup that you have right now, which you built based on vibe coding using all of these tools, will be completely offline, will be completely private. So even for recruitment and staffing, if you're looking at some kind of an option to set something up, maybe resume screening, or maybe um, I don't know, like job description creation, whatever is your requirement, you can kind of set that tools up. Okay. Now, do we have any other questions? Let me quickly check my Instagram as well. Right. Yes. So this was about Ollama. The whole session was all about Ollama. Let me know if you need any other topic, if you're interested in learning something else apart from Ollama. Like I can do a session on maybe LM Studio, or I can teach you Hermes Agent. If you've joined my WhatsApp group, feel free to kind of put it over there as a recommendation. I'll take that up. So this is the first of a huge series that I'm going to be running. So every Friday at 8 p.m., you can see me online with a brand new session. All right. So the best way to learn about these sessions is to kind of be in the WhatsApp group. The second best way is to kind of follow me on LinkedIn. So just search on LinkedIn Arthi Rajendran, and I'll pop up there. All right. Okay. If there are no further questions, let me quickly scroll through to see. Okay, good. I hope you had fun and you learned from the session. If this was useful, um, if you're watching this on YouTube, please consider subscribing or just joining my WhatsApp group. That's it. I'll see you in the next session next Friday live. All right. Happy weekend, everybody.